the market is currently melting most of the traders down because they don't have a strategy that they're following. Now, in this video, I'm going to share with you my trading strategy with regards to how I take trades over here. Now, if you're part of our Discord community group, you recall that we have now a new trading challenge where we want to take $60 and turn it into $10,000. Now, some of you may think that is insane, but it is actually possible using our strategy. Again, our Discord community is currently available for free. So you can see that we started this account with $66 and now we are over $226. Actually, if I come here, because this is the very same account, you can see 230. This account was around $300, but obviously the market is dropping here. We're currently on the trade, as you can see here, about 67%. So in this class, I want to share with you a trading strategy called scaling. Now you can scale a trade whether it's a losing trade or it's a winning trade. This is also the strategy that I've been using to grow this account from $60 to almost $300 right now. And whenever I'm taking a trade, I do post it on our Discord, and whenever I'm scaling the trade, I also post it on our Discord. Now, one of our Discord member actually pointed it out, asked the question and said, how do you scale a trade and profit? I only scale a trade when it goes against me, which is a terrible trading strategy, because if you're only scaling a trade when it's going against you, that means that you are exposing yourself to even bigger loss. Obviously, it's much easier for you to break even and make as much money as possible on that trade should the market start going in your direction. But if it doesn't, you actually turn out to lose almost the entire account. So when the trade is moving in your favor, you also want to scale it so that you can milk the market and make as much money as possible. Whenever we're giving signals, if you come to the signals tab here, you will see, if we just scroll down to our last signal, you can see here I gave an instruction to go long on dogs, use 5x leverage, use only 25% of your account. Now, the reason why we want to do this, we want to slice our account so that we're only exposing 25% at the entry, and then after that we actually use the next 25% to scale should the trade go against us. But not only if the trade is going against us, we can also scale when the trade is moving in our favor. Let's actually look at how I did that. So this is when we actually dropped the signal. This is where we told people to go long on dogs. And you can see, since we actually went long here, the markets never really went against us. You can see after we took this trade here, the market has been moving in our favor. I actually want to scale this trade in this live video, even though right now it's not a good idea, but I want to show you this with a practical example. So you can see from the time that we went long to the peak here, that is 22%. So with 10x leverage, you can see this is over 220%, and that's the reason why we've been able to grow this account from $60 to almost $300, because you can see one single trade can give us 200% in profit. So how do we actually scale the trade? You can see here, this is the initial entry. And by the way, we're going to talk about this because this was our first trade within this challenge. So this was our first entry. And once we realized that the market is moving in our direction over here, we realized that, look, we need to scale the trade and enter with more margin. I scaled it over here. I think there was a mistake because it didn't scale with the margin that I wanted. I actually scaled it again over here, and the market went now against me, because now this is the average entry price. Let's just get rid of these things. So that's our first entry. This is our scaling. We also scaled it right here. You can see every time we scaled the trade, it actually went in our favor, and now the average entry price moved from being here to being around this key area, and you can see this is the average entry price here on this line. So right now the market is actually dropping a little bit, but what we can see here is a potential bull flag. So it is possible that the market can trade and move up this direction. So maybe this is a perfect example that I can use to then scale the trade. So let's do that in this live session. So I'm going to come down here and cancel one of the limit orders that I have. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel this. Now I want us to focus on this average entry price. Let's actually get a tool that will help us do that, and that's going to be a horizontal array. So I'm going to bring it and click right here. So this line that I just clicked right now, I just created, is the current entry price that we have on this trading pair. So You can see here that this candle is giving us a wick down, and I want to show you a perfect example of scaling a trade. So once we scale a trade, this price, this average entry price, if let's say for example we're scaling with we're doubling our margin. In this case, this is where the market is currently trading. So that will mean the market, if we were to double the margin that we have right now. So if we come here, you can see the minimum margin used here is about $100, right? You can see here about $103. So if we put $103 into this trade, the entry price will move from here to being around about here, which is halfway. But in this case, let's actually delete this because we scaling this with about $50. You can see here the positive balance is about $50. Let's go ahead and use this positive balance to scale in this trade. Let's just make sure that we've got this right on the dot. So let's move it to our entry price, which is here. Then I'll go ahead and scale this. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick a price here. So I'm going to go 6944 and then slide the slider over to just over 90%. And then I'll click buy. And you can see right here, this is our limit order. So if the market comes to touch our limit order right here, that will mean the average entry price will move from where it is right now to somewhere around here. Let's actually just do that. If it doesn't touch it, I'm just gonna move it down. In fact, let's move it up here for the sake of this video. You can see it did touch it right there. And you can see this is where our average entry price was before. Now it moved to right here. But now we've increased our margin to about $150, right? So that is scaling a trade that is in profit. What we actually want now the market to do is for the market to move from here and come to these key levels. That's where we can take profit. So we can actually just bring our take profit. Oops. Let's bring that. We can actually bring our take profit to this key area here. And then if we click on that, our take profit will be about $150, which is more or less about 100% ROI. You guys will recall that this trade was anyway on 100% a couple of hours ago when we actually posted it on our Discord. If I come here and I scroll down, you can see that this trade was on 100%. But because we're trading very small margin, what we want to do is to make as much money as possible on a single trade so that we can quickly move this account from $66 to at least $500 or even $1,000. Once we're at $1,000, it will be much easier for us to make a lot of money and take this account from $66 to $10,000. It's very much possible. Let's just come back here on the market. Now you can see the market is now pushing in our favor, but obviously it would have been nice if we got the entry around here, because right now we'll be actually making a lot of money as the market moves in our direction. So that is how you scale a trade that is actually in profit. So what you're actually doing is that you're adding margin on existing margin so that your profit is much bigger. So what's happening in this case is that the $50 that we actually use to scale this trade, if I can just come to my tools here, which means that from here where we scale the trade, coming up here, it's almost 5%. So what we're doing in this case, we're actually making 50% more with regards to our new margin, but also on the margin that we had before. So that is scaling a trade that is currently in profit. So you can see that's what I've been doing here, scaling this trade so that I can make as much money as possible when the market is moving in my direction. In fact, from the time of taking this trade, it has actually been moving in my direction. So what we can do now, if you want to limit the risk, you can always put the stop loss. Let's say, for example, let's bring this here. So let's bring this here. You can always put your stop loss here, which means that your stop loss is going to be in profit. You're not going to be making as much money, but you're also not going to be losing anything. You can see that is a little bit far down now because the market is a little bit bullish at this moment. So that's how you can trade safely. In this case, you're going to be protecting your margin. You're not going to be losing anything, but if the market moves in your direction, you're actually making more money. So let's move that out of the way because I want to show you this first trade that we took here on this trading pair. You guys will recall that we actually dropped this signal as well. If we just go back to our daily signals, this is the latest signal that we dropped. and we're just gonna go to the previous one. You can see on this trade we took about 51%. We actually closed this trade. There is a trading course that is coming up here on YouTube for absolutely free. Make sure that you do subscribe, because on that course I actually go in depth with regards to showing you exactly where you should be shorting the market. For example, if we come back here on this trade, you can see that we actually dropped the signal. Let's just exit out of that and go to that specific signal. I think it should be right here. You can see we said short dogs USDT, use 5 to 10x leverage, use 25% of your account. Same strategy. The first thing that we want to do is to use 25%. Basically, we're slicing the account into 25%, so which means there's about 4 opportunities to actually go into different trades with the same account. So what we did in this case, let's come back to here. This is exactly where we dropped the signal on this candle right here. This is where we went short on this currency pair, and you can see that after going short, the market actually went against us. So the market moved, look at that, from going short here, the market went 7% against us. In this case, we realized that the market is going against us, but we also know the overall picture of what may happen on the market, and we strongly believe that the market is going to go down. So in this case, we take another short position with the next 25%. We take another short position, which brings our average enterprise to now about here, right? As now this is the average enterprise, let's come down here and get our measuring tool. Now we move from here to exactly where we sold, which is around about here, which gives us about 5.7%, which is equivalent to this amount of money that we made over here. You can see about 51%. And really, we could have made a lot of money on this trade because we were using this support here, this white line here. So on the course that's coming up next within this week or next week, we actually go in depth with regards to showing you why we're shorting at this point. And in fact, this was a perfect entry because on that course, we actually got 5 more trades, which has more or less similar trading scenarios that we took within that course. We recorded those trades live within the course, and we show you all these trades in live trading sessions. And here you can see we've got the buy sign, which means that's where we exited the trade. Now, the reason why I actually decided to exit the trade there is simply because sometimes, you know, taking 50% on the market is not wrong. Even if you took 10% on the market, it's not wrong, because that money, you didn't have it before you took the trade. You don't want to be greedy because the market at the time of recording this video is very, very bullish. So once you got 50%, you want to make sure that even if it's 25%, you close it, because prior to you taking the trade, you didn't have that money. If we come back here, you can see that we did eventually close this trade, but we actually went against the trading strategy that we're actually teaching within the course. That course that is coming up next was actually recorded in the bear market. So market environment changes from time to time. It's actually a perfect example for you to watch that class and also watch our second class that is coming up next month. If you come here, you can see that the market eventually dropped to this key areas right here, because we're constantly monitoring the market and we're doing only swing trading. I realized at this point that now it's a best time to actually start buying. Why? Because if you look here, you can see there's previous support here that the market we expect to come and rest on these key levels, because the market has actually came to these key levels several times in the past and failed to break below it. So that's the reason why, or at least one of the reasons why, we actually wanted to go long from this direction or from this point moving onwards like that. So that is part of the trading strategy. But in this class, I just wanted to show you how you go about scaling the trade. All right, so let's come back here. You can see this is where we scaled our trade. And I'm just going to zoom out here and expand this. And here on top, this is where we had our take profit. Now you can see that this trade actually reached our take profit. So I'm gonna refresh this because this has been executed and we now made profits on the trade. So here you can see that we did sell there on top. Let's expand this as well and zoom out of that. And you can see this is exactly where we scaled our trade right here. And if we zoom out of that, this is exactly where we closed our trade. Remember, we just scaled this, let's say about 4 hours ago. So this trade was a success. If we bring this up here, you can see it's over 7.6%, which means we earned an additional 7.6% on top of the margins that we actually added on this trade. So that is what scaling a trade is. Let's just come back here so that I can show you the P&L. If I click on P&L and scroll down, you can see on this trade we made over 147, or rather 45%. And if we scroll here, you can see over $200. Remember, we started this account with just $66, and now we are able to make over $200 on a single trade. If we come up here, you can see on assets, we're now sitting at $374, which is great. Our aim is to take this account to maybe let's say $1,000, so that we can easily turn it to $10,000. If we come here, I'll click on 7 days or even 30 days. I want to show you here when we deposited that $66, you can see it right here. And then eventually after that, we started growing this account gradually, and you can see how gradually we've been growing this account. Basically with this exercise, I want to show you that it's possible to make a lot of money starting with almost nothing if you know exactly what you're doing. Let's come to unified trading here, and you can see if we, let's say, go to you can see here we made $100, and if we change this to 30 days, you can see how gradually we've been growing this account. I think this was a perfect example of how to scale a trade. And obviously, if you want to join our trading challenge, because we're still very early on a challenge, you saw that obviously now we are making around about $200 per trade, but our aim is to get to $500 and $1,000 so that we can gradually grow this account and quickly get to $10,000. If you want to join this trading challenge, you can be part of our Discord. If you come here on our Discord, you can see this is the trade, because now I'm recording this later. This is another signal that we drop on our Discord. If you come to the daily signals, you can see I told them here that I'm going short on this specific currency pair, and basically we just closed that dogs trade. That's the one that I just showed you now, and this is the signal that we dropped after. And obviously this signal also was very profitable, and everybody within our group actually made money. You can see if we come down here, that's people were now trading their scroll signal that we provided. And if you want to be part of our Discord community, it's absolutely free. The only thing that you have to do is to head over to vocitidesigner.com, and I'm also going to leave that in the description of this video. Once you're here on our website, it's very simple. What you need to do is you want to make sure that you open these accounts with these buttons here, which basically is our link. We want to make sure that we are able to track your UID. So go ahead and fund your Bybit account, open a Bybit account and fund it, and also send us your UID for BingX. So you need to send us both UIDs, and then once you're done, click on the submit button, submit that to us, we'll verify it. So once we know that you did open the account with our link and you have at least one account funded, we'll then give you access to our Discord, where you can get access to all this information. So in this final part of this video, I want to share with you this trade here, over 150% of my initial margin. In this exercise, or rather in this trade, I'm going to show you exactly what we did. The beauty about it is that we actually dropped a signal here with regards to this very same trade. Let me just make sure. Yes, that's the same currency pair. And you can see at some point, this trade was giving me over 300%. Now, I could have taken the 300%, but I decided, you know what, I'm just going to scale this. So in terms of the percentage, it could seem a little bit lesser, but the amount of money that you're making will be much more. In this case, I want to show you how I went about scaling this trade, this signal that we dropped here. So you can see that we said you need to go in with a market price, right? So let's just go right into that. Before we do that, you can see the leverage is 10%, stop loss, and all that stuff. As always, you must always apply money and risk management on your trade. Apply a stop loss, calculate it, learn how to do that as well. So let's come back here, and I'm just going to expand this here, and let's expand like that. This is on a 1 hour time frame. So this is the exact signal that we gave this side, and this is how I went about trading the signal. Remember, we had said you need to go in at a market order. At the time of us dropping the signal, the market is trading around these key areas here. So that's when we shorted. But you can see that I took another short over here. Let's just expand this one more time so that it is a little bit bigger. And eventually you can see exactly where I dropped, or rather where I exited the market. So let's just go back like that. I want to delete this so that we can illustrate it the way I want to illustrate this. All right. So the first thing first, you can look at two critical things here. There is this support line here that the market was respecting for some time, and eventually it broke. In fact, when we talk about this line here in our previous class that we dropped here on our channel, if I can just quickly go to that, in this class here, this class, I think it has about 5,000 views, the advanced futures trading course, become a profitable trader. In this class, I spoke exactly about this trading strategy here with applying the trend line, and as much as, or rather as soon as that trend line is broken, you go ahead and short, because it is a confirmation of a continuous downtrend. So in this case, we could have made a lot of money had we just waited for that trend line to be broken. But what I want to show you here is that if we come to this exact video, is that you can see this is almost the same setup. Let's just expand this. You can see here, this is the trend line that we're talking about. Eventually, when it's get broken, that's where you should go ahead and short it. If we come here, you can see I was just teaching about this concept. Oops, there's an ad playing, so let's just skip that. Don't skip our ads, only I am allowed to do it. Shout out, thanks for the support. So let's skip that. And you can see this is exactly what we're talking about here. But I want to show you, let's also just mute this. I want to show you exactly a same scenario that is similar to the one we're talking about. As you can see here, here's the market coming to rest within these key points here on the market, and eventually you can see that it will get broken. Even in this case, you can see the same thing happens. So had we just waited, for example, that is a sort of like different technique. But what we want to talk about here is basically just scaling. So let's go over this, and I want to show you exactly how I went about trading this signal here. So again, this is a signal that we drop. If you're not part of our community, I'll leave a link in the description of this video where you can join our Discord. It's absolutely free. The only thing that we require from you is that you sign up using our Bybit link, fund your account, make sure that you have provided KYC, then send us your UID. We'll then gladly add you on our Discord for free. So let's come back here, and this is the initial entry price. Remember, it was saying enter at the market price. So I'm going to bring my horizontal array here and bring the exact point where we went short on the market, right? And you can see when the market came to this level, I went short again instead of exiting the market. And then I want to put this line here. So this is our second entry short. Remember at this point that the market had already went from where we entered to these key levels here and went to over 30%, which is the reason why we were at this time having over 300% here on the market, because we're using 10x. So why is it that we didn't close the trade exactly when we had 300%? Again, guys, when you're trading, you shouldn't be expecting 300%. This is obviously something that we hit very often in our group, but even if you've made 50%, it's still good money. So let's go ahead and delete that. The reason why we didn't close the trade at this stage is simply because we still believe that the market is going to go down based on some key elements that I'm going to explain in our next video. So make sure that you do subscribe for that video. So in this case, we decided, you know what, we're going to take a second entry. So again, let's just come here. This is our first entry. And then we enter again here with our second entry. So what we're doing when we're entering with our second entry, we're doubling our margin. Let's assume that when we entered here with our first entry, we had put $1,000 at risk, right? So we're risking $100,000, or rather $1,000. I'm always thinking big money, sorry. So we're risking $1,000 at this key level here on top. So this is $1,000 that is being risked on the market. So what we're doing in this case, we're adding an additional $1,000 on an already existing trade. So at this point here, we're adding another $1,000. So what that does is that it brings our average entry price from here, because this was our initial entry. So our entry is no longer going to be this line here. It's going to be the new line. I'm just going to draw it here. Because we actually doubling our margin, it's very easy to calculate. Our next market entry, or rather average entry price, is going to be here. So let's change this line to, let's say, for example, orange. So the orange line is now our average entry price, is our entry price where we entered this trade. So if we now decide that from here, let's just assume that we're going to make another 30% drop. So it's going to be around here. So now it's going to be again 300%, but it's no longer just 300% of $1,000. Remember, on a first trade here, it was giving us 300%, but with our $1,000 margin. But now, because we've doubled our margin, and our margin is now $2,000, which means this now gives us $6,000 in profit. So, but you may recall that we didn't close this at 300%. We closed it at 150%. And this is exactly where we closed our trade here, which gave us almost 160%. So that is how you scale the trade. All right. So now, because you have actually doubled your margin, it's very important that you actually don't go on to lose that money. You have to put a stop loss whenever you're trading. So in this case, we already know that the trade is moving in our direction. What we can do is calculate from here just 1%. 1% is going to give us 10% on the market. So basically what we're saying is that once the market, goes back against us, it shouldn't go on a red. Instead of the market going on the red, it's going to exit our trade, and we're not going to be making that much money. We're just going to be making 10%. But that 10% will then cover your trading fees, funding fees, and all that stuff. The most important thing in this case is that you actually not losing any money. So this here becomes then your stop loss, right? So let's just change that to red. So if the market comes back here, it's going to be hitting your stop loss. But we can see in our case that the market from here started trading down to exactly where we exited without the market going to hit our stop loss, which means the trade is successful. So this is how you should be looking into how doing your trade, your trading setup, is that once you have a trade that is already ongoing and you're very confident based on the elements that we've provided on this video and in our previous videos, such as the video that I just showed you here, is that you want to make as much money as possible on that trade, but still maintain the money and risk management. So that's what I wanted to show you guys within this exercise here. For example, if I zoom out now here on this trade, because I think this is about 2 weeks since I closed the trade, and you can see that eventually this trade dropped by 40 or rather 35%, which with 10x leverage will be 350 from the initial scaling position. If we bring it back up here, and then again, just bring it down, you can see it's over 41%, which is 410%, but that is without scaling. It's very important to understand the next video that we're going to be dropping on the channel, because we're going to be showing you how you identify these trades. And because the market in this case has pumped up so much, we are obviously certain, or rather sure, that the market will eventually drop down here. So it's very important for you guys to subscribe and watch the next video, because in the next video, I'm going to show you how we identify these trades so that you are aware. Even though we may drop signals for you here, it's also very important that you understand the concept behind those signals. My name is Vusi Designer. Thank you so much for watching this video. My aim here on YouTube is to take everything that I've learned in trading and just sort of like simplify it for the next big trader or the next Vusi that want to trade the futures market, so that you have all the information that you need in just one place. When we started trading, this information or information like this was not available on the internet. It is then my dream to just make it available for you guys to watch it here on YouTube for absolutely free. All the courses that we produce in this channel is free. All the signal free, everything we're just giving it to you guys for free. And if you do appreciate that, please smash the like button and support the channel by signing up with our affiliated brokers in the description of this video. I'll see you guys on the next one. Goodbye for now. Peace.